Guys, I just got back from watching Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. That's right, I have now seen the movie. It just came out in Australia. I went to the midnight screening, and obviously, with these events, there's always a lot of hype, a lot of fans are around, but I am absolutely blown away with how they wrapped it up. I'm going to give you guys some thoughts and kind of what I can remember from the movie because there was so much to take in. This is going to be 100% spoiler free, and then I will later on do a spoiler review. So if those of you guys that want to know a bit more about the story, I will do that as well. But this one is going to be spoiler free. So if you haven't seen the movie and you just want my opinion on what I thought, I'm going to go over a few key parts of the movie that I thought were really good without giving away any of the storyline. So make sure you hit that thumbs up if you're excited for The Rise of Skywalker, and I hope you guys enjoy this video. Anyways, getting into it, I'm going to start with JJ's intentions. And, you know, as a director and as a writer and things, you want to appease all Star Wars fans. And I feel like this movie really did that. It draws on a lot of things from, you know, the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy and ties it all back in, wraps it up together. And it has a big feeling of we, not me. In the last couple of movies, it felt very like separate. Rey was kind of on her own, doing her own thing, and I know she was going through training with Luke in The Last Jedi and all of that, but this movie really feels like the whole Resistance coming together to fight off against the First Order, and I think it was really well developed. They, you know, made it into a war, but they kept the Resistance together, which, you know, is really good for the story, and I felt like it was a really nice touch compared to the last movie, which felt very, you know, the Resistance here and Rey here. It was kind of like brought together, which I thought was a really good touch. The plot direction, obviously without going into too many spoilers, I really like the way that they developed Rey's conflict within herself, Kylo Ren's conflict within himself. So those two main characters were really developed well throughout their story. I liked what they did with their conflicts within themselves and with each other and their kind of relation throughout the movie and how they sort of bounced off one another. For those of you guys wondering about Palpatine as well, his involvement in the story was really well done. I'm not going to go into too much detail with him because I don't want to spoil anything, but just know I think it was really a great job what they did with involving him in this movie. Minor character development, Finn got a lot of screen time, Poe got a lot of screen time. I'm really happy that they developed those two characters because really they are part of the big three. You know, Finn, Poe, and Rey are the big three of the sequel trilogy. They developed those characters much more in this movie and really gave them lead roles, and it felt more like lead roles, whereas in the previous Force Awakens, you know, Poe didn't really get a lot of screen time, and The Last Jedi, he didn't really get a lot of screen time. Finn got a decent amount, but I think in this one they really cement their place in the trilogy and show where they should have been from the start. So I love that that's been done. I love what JJ did with their characters in this. And a couple of other characters along the way, like Chewie's involvement was, you know, it was there. He's never really in the main role. He's always kind of there. But his portrayal and his, you know, he doesn't speak, but his sounds and the voices and what he actually says, it really goes along well with what he's feeling and how the story is. Leia's involvement as well was really good. She led from the distance like she's used to doing. She is a general. It's what she's been doing for the last couple of movies. She really took charge of the Resistance, and I loved that as well. Zorii Bliss is probably someone you guys are asking a lot about, and she is an interesting character. She's kind of cool, kind of different. They do meet her about midway through the movie, I want to say. Her character development is really cool, and she's got some interesting relationships that we probably didn't realize prior to the movie or previously from anything we've seen just yet. So it's cool to see her involvement and where her background story kind of comes from as well. In terms of locations, they do visit multiple locations throughout the Star Wars universe. There's also mentions of new and old planets that we've heard of before in the other trilogies, as well as some that we see in the movie. The music was fantastic as always, and it builds on the key parts of the stories. The fight scenes were incredible. The music behind it suited perfectly. Everything developed. Key plot points, you know, critical moments in the movie were reinforced by such good music. It's just that Star Wars feel, and it cemented it perfectly. Nailed it right on the head. I know you guys are saying, you know, the music's always good, but this time around it absolutely crushed it again as always, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. Now, in terms of what we've all been speculating about and what we've all been wondering about, there are some really big questions that fans have that they want to know if it's been answered. A lot of them do get answered. I'm sure you guys have your own sort of speculations on what you think things are going to happen and how things are going to happen, or what this character does, what that character does. Trust me, some of it, yes, but a lot of it is not the way you think it's going to happen. There are different developments that had me like going, oh my god, what is happening? And I kind of just was lost at points. Like, it was so exciting and it kept me on the edge of my seat and it kept me guessing. Right when I thought I knew something was going to happen, something else happened and something was different to what I was kind of building up in my head already. So some of it, yes, does develop the way we think it's going to develop. Some of it doesn't. So make sure you guys pay attention to those key plot points throughout the movie, because they do develop very differently than what I was expecting. But again, some of it is good. Some of it is not what we expected, and it's a nice surprise to be actually shocked by the movie when you had so many expectations going in. I think overall the fans are going to be really satisfied with how the movie turned out. I know I was, you know, it drew on, like I said, the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, and it wrapped it all back up, developed all of the sequel trilogy out and into a final saga. It really did put the icing on the cake of what was the sequel trilogy. After The Last Jedi, you know, a lot of people were unhappy. They didn't like how it was written or how it was portrayed, how certain characters got treated and things like that. I think JJ has absolutely crushed it with episode 9, and this is my 100% opinion. Yours might be different, but I really, really enjoyed it, and I think he's done a great job with episode 9, and I think just the way he tied it all together was fantastic. I'm trying to go off the top of my head here because I have literally just gotten home from the movie, but the plot twists and turns were exciting. The action scenes, the fights, all of it was really cool. There are some different points where the Force becomes really present, and I just absolutely loved it. It felt like proper Star Wars again. So after what we got with The Last Jedi, it was kind of divisive. I think more Star Wars fans are going to like The Rise of Skywalker than they are going to dislike it, and that makes me so happy, because to me it did. It felt like real Star Wars again. It felt like top of the line, like well written Star Wars. There were a few bits that I went, yeah, don't know about that, but it was done in a way that developed it later on in the story, that brought it back and it made sense. So just because your first point when you see something in the movie you might be a bit iffy on, just wait till the end. It's going to develop really well and get you guys the full picture. So this is my spoiler-free review. Like I said, I just kind of want to blurt out everything that happened in the movie, but I'm not going to do that because I don't want to spoil any of you guys. But yeah, it is going to be a little bit of a shorter one to avoid story spoilers. Anyways, I'm going to get out of here, guys. I definitely recommend you go see Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. It was a really enjoyable movie. I plan on seeing it again tomorrow because I can't get enough. It was like, I didn't want it to end. It felt really well developed, but it was so satisfying in the end when it did finally finish. Everything was wrapped up in a nice, neat little bow, and I am definitely going to be going to see it again. I'll probably pay and go see it tomorrow night, to be fair. So for those of you guys that were on the fence, definitely go check it out. It's worth paying the movie admission. I know some of you guys are like, oh, I don't want to support Disney after The Last Jedi, but definitely worth it. If you guys were worried, don't stress. I'm sure you Star Wars fans that didn't like The Last Jedi will still like The Rise of Skywalker. So I am going to get out of here now, though. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you guys want to check out the spoiler review, I'll have that coming soon. But for right now, I'm getting out of here. Thank you again for tuning in, and may the Force be with you always.
The Sith are all powerful.